Casey's biggest hits.
8 years ago this week, back in 1985, one of the biggest hits in the USA was You Belong to the City. It was by a rocker who says he discovered the hard way the high price of eating junk food all day long in the recording studio. I'll have details and that big hit after this.
American Top 40.
Casey Kasem's away this week, and I'm Mark Elliott sitting in. Here's the first solo hit by a former member of one of the most popular American groups of the 70s, the Eagles. He's 33-year-old Glenn Frey, and this is the first single from his new solo album, No Fun Allowed. That's A-L-O-U-D. His song is I Found Somebody. Glenn Frey.
American Top 40.
For Casey Kasem, I'm Lee Sherwood, and these are the most popular songs in America. Now we're up to a solo hit by a former member of one of the most successful American rock bands in history. This five-man supergroup's 4 number-1 albums and 5 number-1 singles make them the all-time top American rock band as far as the charts are concerned. They were a country rock band from Los Angeles, whose original members first got together to work as Linda Ronstadt's backup band. But the music these 5 men made together was good enough to let them work on their own. So they formed a group called the Eagles. The original Eagles consisted of bass player Randy Meisner, drummer Don Henley, and 2 guitarists Glenn Frey and Bernie Leadon. Guitarist Don Felder was added later. The Eagles first charted in 1972 with a song co-written by Jackson Browne and Glenn Frey called Take It Easy, the first of the Eagles' 16 top 40 hits. In the next 10 years, Joe Walsh would replace guitarist Bernie Leadon, and Timothy B. Schmidt would replace Randy Meisner. And the Eagles just kept on hitting. The first of their 5 number-1s was Best of My Love in 1975. After that came One of These Nights, New Kid in Town, Hotel California, and Heartache Tonight. Early this year, because of internal conflicts, the group decided to call it quits while they were still on top. The members went off to solo projects, and the first of them to hit the charts since the breakup is founding member Glenn Frey. His first solo hits a couple of months ago was I Found Somebody. His follow-up debuts this week at number 39. The One You Love. Here's Glenn Frey.
I know you need a friend, someone you can talk to, who will understand what you're going through.
American Top 40.
AT40 originates in Hollywood. Here's the rock star who has a shot at becoming a television star. When the show Miami Vice turned his song into a story, he got an acting part, and he'll be reviving that role next season. With the song that started it all, here's Glenn Frey, up 4 notches to number 14 with Smuggler's Blues.
Casey's biggest hits.
7 years ago this week, back in 1985, one of the biggest hits in the USA was by a superstar who recently received the very first From the Heart Award for his work in the battles against AIDS, cancer, and leukemia. One of the most important charitable organizations in the world of rock music is the T.J. Martell Foundation. Every year, music companies and musicians donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to help it fight a variety of diseases. It's like the community chest of the music business. And recently, they decided to honor one musician who's always found the time to do benefits for them. They honored him with their newly created From the Heart Award. 7 years ago this week, this rock humanitarian had one of the biggest hits in the USA, You Belong to the City, by Glenn Frey.
Casey's biggest hits.
8 years ago this week, back in 1985, one of the biggest hits in the USA was by a rocker who says he discovered the hard way the high price of eating junk food all day in the recording studio. As a member of the Eagles, Glenn Frey was famous for his perfectionism, for spending months working on just one song. And he says that because of the stress, he finds himself nibbling all the time on the sort of food studios would prepare. Lots of high-calorie, high-cholesterol junk food. Add on to that the tension of being at the top, and Glenn eventually came down with a painful digestive ailment called diverticulitis, which led to surgery a few years ago to remove part of his intestines. Since then, he says, he's learned to go for fruits and vegetables instead, knowledge that would have saved him a lot of pain. 8 years ago this week, Glenn Frey had one of the biggest hits in the USA. Here's You Belong to the City. From 8 years ago, Glenn Frey and You Belong to the City. I'm Casey Kasem.